says, seems to me there was a tea party in Boston that was illegal, too.
I have directed Secretary Connally to suspend temporarily the convertibility of the dollar into gold.
We shall seek to establish and maintain a dollar which will not change its purchasing and debt-paying power during the succeeding generation.
As anguished shrieks rose up from the floor of the New York Stock Exchange.
Government credit and government currency are really one and the same thing. A reserve of gold and a small reserve of silver.
So, and I said, well, what if it does happen? And he says, well, price will solve everything. I said, thanks, give me the gold. You know?
Why do central banks hold it? Well, it's a form of reserves. So why don't they hold diamonds? Well, it's tradition, long-term tradition.
Well, some people still think it's money.
Welcome back to the Junius Maltby channel, the most boring channel on YouTube. The extemporaneous ramblings of a madman, broadcasting live and unscripted as usual. Thanks for joining me for another installment of daily or weekly or monthly, depends when I get around to it, stacking motivation. Precious metals enthusiasts gather here to be motivated. And we've got some charts, headlines, stories, discussion points pulled up, things that we're going to dive into. So welcome. Glad to see the channel members that made it. I did start the video a little earlier. The earlier we start, the earlier we can get out of here. Check your volume if your volume's low, because it should be fine, man. It should be A-okay. I've got it good and green on my end, and I'm bouncing into the red. So check your audio, check the audio on your end. Tell me how are you coming in 5x5? Are we loud and clear? Who's got video problems, audio problems? Look like Living Soil's got low audio. Check the audio on your end. All right. You guys got good audio? I'm not going to start until I know for sure, because sometimes people say there's an audio problem. So give me a thumbs up, give me a green, give me whatever, man. Good audio here. E.W. Fisher, you're all that counts, man. If you can hear me, you can hear me. Good. What you see on the screen there is a video from 3 years ago. 3 years ago. Hyperinflation potential by some whack job kook, some nut job named Junius Maltby. You can see it there. If you haven't watched that one, check it out. We cover some stuff. I go off and I show you my hyperinflation graveyard, my little Fiat graveyard. Got a bunch of dead currencies that are expired and extinct. On that, this is interesting. The timing is great on this story. A friend of mine, he's traveling right now. He's over in, I like to call it England because it pisses people off. It's not England, it's the United Kingdom. He's in England, all right? He's over in England, and he's traveling around in England. And his mother went to spend a crisp 20-pound note she had from her last trip there. This is a guy I grew up with, a close friend of mine. Keeps me informed of his travels and everything he's doing, minute by minute. And it was denied. It was refused. They would not take it for goods or services where she was at. And I think I even reported this back then. Remember when they were eliminating certain 20 and 50-pound notes from circulation to come out with their new plastic ones to curb, what was it, fraud and counterfeiting and that such. That's always the excuse anyway. So I believe he can trade it in at a post office or a bank over there. I believe they'll still take them. I told them that anyways. Hopefully it works out for him. I just found it funny that these paper notes could be somewhat expired, no longer useful. You know, a lot of times in history and in other countries, when they do that, you're given a deadline, and then once that deadline's met, tough luck. I mean, if you didn't turn your notes in, they're worthless. But, all fiat dies, gold and silver always survives. That's just history. That's a fact. You can't deny that. It's irrefutable. There's no case you can study in which that didn't happen or hasn't happened. And every fiat paper is destined for such. That's the end. That's the way it goes. It's the last chapter. But check it out, hyperinflation potential. We talked about it 3 years ago. We were talking about inflation then. But I was inspired by, there was a really good content put out. And over the years, the last decade or so, I've tuned in at times to Chris Martenson. He put out some good information way back in the 07-08 crisis, calling some things. He did one recently on exponential charts and the dynamics behind exponential chart. I guess you call it chart science. Gains or losses. When you start looking at percentage points compounding on things like debt, that's what we'll look at mostly. It gets to a point where it's so destructive that it, as we've said many times on here before, it happens very slowly and then it happens all at once. And that's what we're going to look at here. You'll never really know when exactly it's going to tip over into that unknown world of chaos, catastrophe, and not only hyperinflation. Because remember, when we visited hyperinflation and talked about it at length here on the channel, we realized hyperinflation only consumes the remaining 4% of a currency's strength. You've already lost 96%, so what's another 4%? And we'll look at some charts on that. But, they claim they can print into infinity, and I'm going to show you a clip here in a second that's important to pay attention to. I know it's boring. Economics is boring. That's why I've always claimed this channel is the most boring channel on YouTube. Most people can't tune in for it. They'd rather get entertained. They'd rather worship celebrities or sports ball and things like that. But although this is boring material, if you grasp the concepts, if you prepare, you might be better prepared. You might make it. You might survive. You don't want to be like Miley Cyrus and Justin Bieber, Justin Timberlake. Come on, all of the celebrities we like to name to throw off the bots and the algorithms to keep us under the radar. We'll make YouTube think we're talking about stupid stuff. Maybe then they'll ignore us. But I've got a piece here just to paint a picture of how much they don't care about the currency, how much they avoid guaranteeing you a future with savings. Because again, if you save in fiat, you're just guaranteeing your losses. You're locking in permanent erosion, debasement, devaluation. That's what it is. You buy less every single day. A $100 bill today is only as strong as today. Every day after this, it buys you less and less and less. That's just the way it works. I didn't make the rules up. But check this out. We're going to go to our friend here, Alan Greenspan. You know who I'm talking about. And you're going to want to listen in. This is only a minute long, so if you got an attention span problem, go make yourself a cup of tea. But check this out.
Do you still believe that we should maintain the fundamental principles of Social Security as it did in 83?
I think we should maintain the principles of Social Security, but I think the existing structure is not working, and that until we can construct a system which creates the savings that are required to build the real assets so that the retirees have real goods and services, we don't have a system that's working. We have one that basically moves cash around, and we can guarantee cash benefits as far out and at whatever size you like, but we cannot guarantee their purchasing power. And this is why the issue ultimately has got to be...
That part again. It's very important. We cannot guarantee...
But we cannot guarantee their purchasing power.
Ooh, hear that again. Hear it again. Hear it again. You got to hear this part.
Size you like, but we cannot guarantee their purchasing power. And this is why the issue ultimately has got to be resolved in terms of, do we have the material goods and services that people will need to consume, not whether or not we pass some hurdle with respect to how legal financing occurs, because the financing is a secondary issue, and it's the means to create the real wealth, not an end in itself.
All right.
Drinking warm water.
They can print as much money as they want. He just said it. But they cannot guarantee its purchasing power. I mean, it's great because in a hyperinflationary environment, you can all be trillionaires. There was a point in Zimbabwe in which everybody was a billionaire and a trillionaire. I mean, you could run around with wheelbarrows full of cash, but you couldn't buy yourself a pack of gum. You couldn't buy a chicken. You couldn't buy a loaf of bread. I was taking a look at revisiting the wiki page on hyperinflation because it's quite entertaining. And there's a page on hyperinflation. You can look at notes, you can look at some charts, you can read some things. But go down here. Let's go down to causes real quick. What causes it according to Wikipedia? Well, I'm curious. Let's see. While there can be a number of causes of hyperinflation, almost all hyperinflations have been caused by government budget deficits. And let's make that. We got to get that to where you can see it. There we go. Sorry, that's as clear as I can get it on the screen. So, almost all hyperinflations have been caused by government budget deficits, financed by currency creation. Peter Bernholtz analyzed 29 hyperinflations, following Kagan's definition, and concludes that at least 25 of those 29 have been caused this way. Those are pretty good numbers. 29 cases studied, 25 of them being caused by government budget deficits. A necessary condition for hyperinflation is the use of paper money instead of gold and silver coins. Most hyperinflations in history, with some exceptions, such as the French hyperinflation of 1789 and 1796, occurred after the use of fiat currency became widespread in the late 19th century. The French hyperinflation took place after the introduction of a non-convertible paper currency, the assignat. Okay, I just wanted to read that part. I think it's important for today's discussion as we look at this. Now, the reason I brought up Chris Martenson earlier is he started talking about charts related to government debt, servicing that debt, and the United States. He was more focused on the United States debt, right? And he did a live on this the other day. And he talked about exponential charts and how eventually every single one of those charts, and I'll show you one towards the end. I'll just skip to it real quick. You got this one here, but here's a bunch of hyperinflation charts. If you look at here on this page, what do you notice about all of them, or most of them? Of course, some of the searches here yielded charts that were not pertaining to the topic today. But if you look at Germany's over here in the corner, let me get it more adjusted for you. Again, I'm my own studio engineer. I've got to do all this stuff myself, my friends, so pardon me as I zoom in and zoom out, move things around. You'll see a lot of hockey stick action taking place. Zimbabwe, Germany's over here. I'm scrolling the mouse over them, and you can see that, they tick along, and then all of a sudden, boom, they go straight up. That was what Chris Martenson brought up. He brought that up as it relates to debt, however, and we just read, debt and inflation tend to go hand in hand because they have to service it, right? They're going to have to print the money to pay this debt. It's going to have to come from someplace. The interest payments have to come from someplace. Somebody's going to get it. Somebody's going to be on the losing end of it. Like the old saying goes, what is it? It's more pertaining to interest. Interest, wealthy people earn it, poor people pay it. We could almost come up with something like, inflation. The peasants pay it. The banks, earn from it, gain wealth from it. The wealthy elites gain from it. The peasants pay it. You could come up with your own little quip for that. I don't know. He was talking about these hockey stick charts, though, that tend to just radically shoot up quite quickly towards the end of the cycle, especially the debt cycle of a nation. You're looking at here, this is from the Federal Reserve, right? This is U.S. interest payments reaching $1 trillion. We reported on this when it first happened. We discussed it, right? And it was news. For some people, it was news. It made the rounds on the internet, and some whack job kooks like us, we talked about it. And then everyone just kind of carried on. We watched our sports get ball. People celebrated, Turkey Day. People just went about their business in that zombie state of mind, just staggering down the sidewalks, walking into stores and spending their fiat and consuming and just, meandering. Not really focused on much, not really caring what was taking place as it was burning down around them. But this is U.S. interest payments reaching $1 trillion. Well, they didn't used to be here. Back in 2019, they were only $587 billion. It's almost doubled since then. If you go back down to, where would we be? About 1980, it was only about $200 billion. It's gone up 5 times since then, the interest payments. Back in the '08 crash, we were about $400 billion. So it took a long time. And then all of a sudden, look at this chart. It starts going up. It's going to start doubling. It's going to start reaching $2 trillion, then 4, then 8, then 16. This is the stage, the late stage in an empire, the late stage in an economic catastrophe like that we've been studying and witnessing and living through, in which it gets to a point where a cataclysm, you're on the verge of a cataclysm. Now, we don't know. I can't even begin to guess the day or the hour when that might be. I don't think many of you would know, because I don't think it's that predictable. But we do know it's inevitable. All right, it's going to happen at some point, at some stage. And every day that goes by, we're closer to it. These numbers don't lie. The facts remain. The sand is, as you can see here, trickling out of the hourglass. Time is passing. And the more time that passes, well, the closer we get to demise. And this is going to affect all of us. It's going to affect the economy, the dollar. Even though Greenspan said they can print as much as they want, we just can't guarantee the purchasing power. That's great. That's beautiful. But what it means is it doesn't matter how much cash you have in the bank. It doesn't matter how much cash you think you're worth. Because ultimately what's going to matter is, what can you get for it? What can you buy? What'll it get you? Will it get you bread? Will it heat your home? Will it put clothes on your back? Or ammunition in your pocket? That's the question. What will it get you? What kind of goods and services? Will it pay a plumber or an electrician? This is U.S. debt interest payments reaching $1 trillion. And again, here's some dates down below. You could see if you go back down to 2014, $442 billion. It took a long time to reach that trillion. And the thing is, this is why I started this channel, ultimately. Years ago, when looking at these numbers and having these conversations, one of the reasons was this type of topic. Looking at the debt, looking at where it was going to lead us, having the conversations with other like-minded folks, and then carrying it over here and finding friends like yourselves to talk about it with. And over time, as we've looked at it, we've looked at history, we looked at other coins on this channel. Oh, there goes the dog. She's flipping out. I showed you guys during the video back on hyperinflation potential some coinage. I believe I have some coins featured in that to show you how people hid or preserved their wealth. And over the life of this channel, that's something that I've always carried as a theme, is gold and silver is an insurance against that. Hey, Annie, come over here. I don't know what you're barking at, but it could stop. You don't have to worry. Pop, pop, I got a gun. She's flipping out. It's the feds. They're at the door. One example I've given, and I've time and time again, and even recently, Andy, I swear, you got to stop. You're very disruptive, dog. You got it. Come here. Come over here. Get in here. She's listening. She's trying to find bad guys. All right. So recently, archaeologists unearthed a soapstone vessel beneath an abandoned theater, revealing a treasure trove of hundreds of 5th century AD gold Roman coins, speculated to be worth millions of euros. Discovered during the renovations of this Cresoni theater, the coins were neatly stacked in a Roman-era amphora, shedding light on a turbulent period in Italian history, likely hidden during the collapse of the Western Roman Empire. Someone stashed this gold as the Visigoths and the Vandals poured over the borders, as Rome was disintegrating into chaos, as the economy itself collapsed and chaos surrounded everyone's daily life. Now, the individual who stashed this incredible hoard of wealth, because back then this is a lot of money. This was wealth back then. And believe it or not, it still carries wealth today because it's gold. Remember, gold never dies. Any papyrus, any fiat trash, any promise written on a scrap of paper during this time period would be worthless. But the gold, it can still purchase things, even 2,000 years later. Now, the individual who buried this, who stashed it, probably didn't fare too well. He's probably killed in the streets, died of an illness, starvation. Who knows? I mean, who knows what happened to the Roman who stashed his wealth like this for those 2,000 years later to find. But he's dead. Oh, guaranteed. He didn't make it. NGMI. Something happened. But I can guarantee you, he was seeing things take place around him that caused him, or her, whoever it was, to take their wealth, to put it in this vessel, and to hide it. They were picking up some signals, if you will. You wonder what they saw. What was being whispered in the streets? What was the news cycle like? What motivated them? You wonder, what are you seeing today that would motivate you to move in a direction like this individual in ancient Rome? What would be some similarities, some parallels in the collapse of our empire and the collapse of the Roman Empire? We've looked at both. We have done many videos on it. You can look at the archives and find those. Debt would definitely be one of them. Debasement, devaluation of a currency would definitely fit the bill. And there's that hockey stick chart. This is federal government current expenditures, interest payments alone. Again, you can see it just taking off. Now, it's not going to go down. If you know one thing about U.S. government spending, U.S. government debt, you know that it's never, ever, ever, ever going to go down. It can't, it won't, it's impossible, it's antithetical to their nature. It's just not what they do. Politicians, the machine, the military-industrial complex. It just eats. It's the Leviathan state. It has an insatiable appetite. These charts will only continue to go up higher and higher and higher. Well, they're going to have to pay it somehow. They're going to have to try to sell bonds. And right now, the whole thing is, do they protect bonds or do they protect the dollar? Which one are they going to defend? The Fed has to choose. That's why they're in that rock and a hard place. What are they going to do with rates, right? A lot of talk about the rate. Well, really, it doesn't even matter anymore. I mean, if the rate's at 1% of these trillions, 35, whatever it is today, 35 trillion in debt, and there's all the other unfunded liabilities. And regardless of what it is, there's going to be some form of percentage point in which there's interest accumulated on this debt. It's going to be unserviceable. They're not going to be able to meet it. And it only gets worse. Soon they're going to have to take out loans and sell bonds just to pay the interest. Just to pay the interest. And yet the U.S. has the audacity, this is interesting, to call out Japan. And I'm wondering what's going on here, because there's currency wars taking place. There's some disagreements. But recently the U.S. put Japan on a currency manipulation watch list. Is the United States on a currency manipulation watch list for anybody? I mean, I would imagine that the world reserve currency, does anyone monitor what's going on there, how the United States handles the dollar, how they manipulate it? Tokyo is reportedly being scrutinized by the Treasury Department. That's like a street prostitute, checking somebody else for STDs or something. It doesn't make any sense here. The Treasury Department trying to scrutinize anybody on currency manipulation for potentially unfair foreign exchange practices. This is, I believe, most likely tied to Japan's calling BS on the U.S. They're probably going to stop buying U.S. bonds. They were one of the biggest customers, Japan and China. And if you notice, in the last year or so, the United States had a little bit of difficulty selling those bonds. 10-year rates have gone up dramatically. They can't incentivize anyone to buy the debt anymore. Why would you? Why would anybody in their right mind loan the United States any money? It's going to dry up a bunch. Somebody has to stop. At some point, the rest of the world is going to realize the king has no clothes, the dollar has no value. The BRICS are swelling. Have you seen the list lately? What is it? 60 countries now want to join the BRICS. I haven't even done the story on that. You can look up the news on it. The list is growing. Every day, more and more countries are lining up to join the BRICS. As we move into a new era of de-dollarization, a multipolar world. That's been one of the themes this year on this channel we've reported on, is the influence of the dollar is just dwindling every single day. And with good reason. Because of the hockey stick charts. Because of the debt. Because the interest on the debt. Because it's growing. Because it's now over $1 trillion just to pay that. Just to pay the interest on it. And if these countries don't buy it, well, they'll just print it. Greenspan even said, he was talking about Social Security. They mean that about everything. It doesn't matter. Social Security, defense spending, the hush money that congressmen have to pay the little boys they touch. It doesn't matter. The money's going to come from you. It's going to come from someplace. They're going to print it. They're going to come up with it. Did you know that Congress has an account for that? They actually have like an account to pay victims of their bad deeds. It's insane. It's incredible, the world we live in. So it's going to affect the standard of living. Everyone's feeling it. Everyone's seeing it at the grocery stores. Everyone knows the dollar's buying less. You can see the little TikTok videos and the little quick clips that people post about shopping, their grocery bills, going to Costco and unable to leave Costco without spending $300+ for a couple of paper towels and a chicken. It's getting out of control. And the cost of just everyday living, even your insurance. Any of you gotten your notifications lately for insurance? Car insurance, homeowners insurance, health insurance, all those costs going up. Why? Because, the dollar's becoming weaker. So all of these businesses have to increase the amount they charge because the currency that you're sending them no longer holds value. Doesn't hold the same value that it did before. So you have to pay more. Does it make sense yet? I know some people are stricken with the normalcy bias. They can't see through this. To them, they're very simple, very analog minded. There's only very binary. It's like the only thing they know of is the dollar. That's the only thing that has value. You notice how many people think like that? They equate dollars with value or intrinsic value. It's like the only unit of account that's ever existed, the only medium of exchange. In their mind, Cro-Magnon man used U.S. dollars. That's how simple-minded, how stupid, how thick some people truly are. They don't realize it was born in 1971, and it's going to die very shortly soon after. And the reason I say 1971 is that's when they closed the gold window and unpegged the dollar from foreign exchange for gold. We've talked, again, all those stories, the history of the dollar. We've beaten that into the ground here on the channel. Most of you should be very well versed on that tale. Now, it's affecting people dramatically. And we're going to take a look at this story quickly. Unknown Soldier 41, channel member. Thank you for the super chat. Thanks for the support. Let me go over there and like that real quick. He goes, my workplace handed out pamphlets to everyone on how to eat less and with cheaper food to save money and benefit one's health. It's a joke. Haven't saved Fiat since finding this channel. Thank you. Thank you, Unknown Soldier. Thank you, my friend. And that's incredible. They're telling people to eat less. Wasn't it a year or so ago? I remember, didn't the government put the government put something out about skipping meals or skipping breakfast, something like that? Intermittent fasting. Pretty soon they're going to be like, starvation's good for you. It's good to starve for at least a week at a time. Fasting. Everyone, we're going to have fasting week. Everyone in the country just doesn't eat for a week. That's what this is. Animal Black. Hey, thanks for the super chat. He says, great work, brother. Thank you. Thank you, my friend. Thanks for being here. Always enjoy your commentary and participation in these videos. So the salary of a family of 4 needs to get by in every U.S. state. It's more than $150,000 in the most expensive one. This is so The salary a family of four needs to get by in every U.S. state is going up dramatically. It's also more expensive now to buy a house than at any time in U.S. history. I believe you can't even be approved nationwide unless you're making six figures. You cannot even. It used to be. We touched on this recently. We did. It was in a video. I forget which one. Not too long ago, 4 years ago, maybe it was like $59,000 was needed to be approved on average in the U.S. Then it was like 70. Now it's far more than that. And now, in order to buy a house, you have to be a six. No one's making not a lot of people are making these wages. Not a lot of people are pulling down this type of income. So if it's a husband and wife, we're going to talk about a nuclear normal family, a normal real family, okay, in the historical sense, the traditional sense, in the right sense, okay, a real family. So two parents, a male and a female, with two children. In Massachusetts, they would need $150,000. Hawaii, 147, Connecticut, 139,000, New York, 139,000, California, 138,000. At $88,895 annually, it costs the least to cover basic needs in Mississippi. So the cheapest state, if you're living in a trailer in diddling ding 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 diddling ding, and you're in like off the Mississippi River somewhere, you still need $88,895 to raise a family of four. And that's in Mississippi. You got to be kidding me. You've got to be kidding me. This is what the death of a currency looks like. Pretty soon you're going to have to start adding commas. You know, there's going to come a day, you think I'm crazy, but if you showed these numbers, if you went and time traveled right now with these headlines and you took them back to somebody in the 40s or 50s even, and you showed them these numbers, they'd just think you were crazy. The guys in D-Day would have never even got off the boat onto the beaches. They had to turn around. This is insanity. They wouldn't have done it. They wouldn't have done it. Not for these numbers. Not for the destruction of life as we know it. No way. It used to be a single income. One man going to work could support a family of 10. Heck, you look at my grandparents, the families, the size of their families back then, 9, 7, a minimum of 5 on one side. You know, most of those families back then, Irish and Italians, dozens of children. Whole sports ball teams full of kids. Dozen at a time. One guy working a regular job, too. Wife stayed at home. They had a nice brand new car. Everything they had was made in the United States. All their clothes were made of natural fibers. They had a U.S.-made vehicle parked in the driveway. Ran good, too. Handmade furniture. Real paint, real wood siding, dimensional lumber construction. Solid. Nice yard, too, probably. Nowadays, you have to have $150,000 and you're going to live in a box. And you're going to eat microwave food. And you're going to like it. And then pretty soon they're going to make you try to eat the bugs. You'll eat the bugs. Pretty soon you'll own nothing and you'll be happy. That's the goal, right? That's the goal. That's what they want to do. That's their ultimate end game. So as they erode the currency, as they erode the purchasing power of the dollar, they're going to drive up the amount that it takes for you to live. Destroy your standard of living. Destroy your wealth. Destroy your savings. It's all part of the plan. Someone's got to pay for it. Someone's got to send money to Ukraine and Israel, right? Come on. You know you have to. You know you like it. Support them. Support them. Wave your flags. Come on. Put it in your bio. Mortgage demand flattens even as interest rates hit the lowest levels since March. Housing prices are going up. Again, some of this could be tied to currency debasement, but I think it's because people can't afford it anymore. The average contract interest rate for a 30-year fixed-rate mortgage with conforming loan balances, $766,550 or less, decreased to 6.94% from 7.02%. Mortgage applications to purchase a home rose 2% for the week and were 12% lower than the same week a year ago. I talked about the other day housing and how it's starting to dip. We're starting to see an increase in foreclosures. We're seeing a decrease in people applying for mortgages. We're even seeing a dip in some of the prices. I know that some parts of the or sectors of the real estate economy in different parts of the country, there has been some blips and increases in some housing prices, but overall we're seeing a decrease in a lot of areas. Now, as the economy disintegrates, there's other things that are rotting and eroding and devouring the social fabric of this once semi-prosperous nation that was once cohesive and such. I don't know if we're going to divert here before we get into the silver stuff I've got at the end and some other charts. Apparently it was June, right? It was Juneteenth or something. And there was, I wanted to show you guys, I don't know if you guys know about Oakland. You guys familiar with Oakland, California? Gavin Newsom's state. This is a clip. I can't play the sound because, maybe I'll have it in the background just barely. It'll probably get my video flagged. It'll be disturbing images and disturbing sounds, and they'll flag my video because I'm showing things that are taking place in Oakland. You literally can't display videos of Oakland because they're so rated, like R. It's like a war zone. It's like Mogadishu or Somalia. It's a failed state. Yeah, it's just one corner of the United States currently, but I'll hit play here and you can check it out. A lot of gunfire, chaos, people running around. There was another clip I saw today. It was taken today. Vehicle after vehicle rolling through the streets of Oakland. People hanging out, weapons, total chaos, anarchy, hysteria. It's like worse than Gotham City. Gunshots like crazy. People laying on the streets, gunfire. People just getting clipped all over the place. This is this is today. This is normal. Like this is just the economy's not even that bad there yet. And then of course there was this Los Angeles, 11,000 stolen, 50 looters, only one arrest. This is an auto zone. They just broke in. They cut the security stuff off, went in, grabbed whatever they wanted, I don't think they stole work boots or gloves. Who knows? I don't know what you go get in an auto zone when you're looting it. But this is the state of the United States currently. And this is happening in Los Angeles. This is happening in Oakland. This is happening all over. I don't know what they're protesting, if there's a protest taking place. If you think it's bad now, imagine when the police aren't showing up to work. They're not getting their paychecks. The currency's not buying. Running short on food. I want you to take your imagination there. What do you imagine? What do you see? Close your eyes for a moment. Try to conjure up an image of what the United States looks like in full-blown disarray when it's all disintegrating. What are you going to do? Where are you going to go? What is it you're going to do exactly? How are you going to protect yours, your own, your family? That's under normal circumstances. That's today. Everyday life, right now. It's not even bad yet. Those stories didn't even make the news. It takes people throwing videos up on little shorts or TikToks in order to get those things out there. Mainstream media doesn't even touch it. MSNBC, CNN, doesn't fit the narrative. It's not good. It's not good for business. I can't imagine people go to Oakland. I can't imagine people live there. Imagine living there. Imagine buying a house there, closing a mortgage, moving in, living there, calling it home, going for walks, going grocery store shopping, going to the park, trying to raise a family in Oakland. Are you crazy? It's hell on earth. It's a hellscape. It's a post-apocalyptic war zone. Not a single redeemable quality. Back to metals. We've been looking at, you saw silver yesterday, right? It went up like $1.05. And then we woke up this morning and it's down $1.10 or whatever. The volatility's here. It's the time of the vulture. Metals are up and down, especially silver. Extremely, extremely volatile. They're playing with emotions. They're playing with the news cycle. They're playing with the prognostications of what the Fed's going to do. Rates. All this talk about the Fed and rates and inflation and rates. Doesn't matter. You know where it's going. I'll show you where it's going. It's going here. That's where it's going. It's going put metal in clay pots and hide them. This is where we're headed. So I don't really care when people bring up like, oh, silver dropped $1 today. Great. It went up $1 yesterday. Dropped $1 today. Great. What's your point, man? Order more, I guess. I really don't care about the daily moves in metals because I'm looking at the cyclical moves of the decade and an empire that's disintegrating. You see, one day it's not going to be in the news anymore. There's not going to be a silver chart per se. All right, you're going to go to log in to CNBC and it's going to be website not found, or there's going to be some glitch there, trading suspended. So when I see things like silver price forecast from Bank of America, $35 an ounce next year, that's cool. That's a cool headline. I get it. Yeah. They're basing this on their little world. Again, this is normies putting out normie news for other normies, zombie news. This day traders, guys that shuffle paper, people that hold paper contracts on silver. They've never seen a real silver ounces in their life. They've never held one. They've never taken delivery of one. They're not like you and me. So that's cool. I get it. $35 an ounce. That's a nice headline. I like it. It's yeah, right on. Bank of America's forecasting silver, man. Oh yeah, it's exciting. Yeah, it'll hit 35, then it'll hit 30. Then it'll go back to 35, then it'll go to 40. They're probably not even right about that. It's probably going to be higher than what they're predicting. Does that mean I'm going to sell? Does that mean you're going to sell? Oh, it's $35 an ounce. I'm selling. No, doesn't mean anything. No, because my metal's going to be in something like this. All right. Do you think this guy cared what gold was trading at when he stuffed it in this bottle? In this amphora? Do you think this Roman really cared what the trading price was of gold the day he hid this vessel? I doubt it. He was probably looking for a gladius. He was probably trying to get out of Dodge. All right. He probably had Visigoths hot on his tail. He'd probably seen some people get violated that day. There was probably smoke on a distant horizon, screams echoing among the Mediterranean cypress, wheat fields burning, broken down chariots on the side of the Appian Way. It probably wasn't a very good time for him. I mean, he never came back and got his gold, so that tells you something, right? You always got to remember that. When you find these vessels full of metal, the dude that hid it never came back. That's what that means. That's the end of that story for that dude. He's gone. All right? He got clipped. He got capped. He probably went to the Roman equivalent of Oakland. I don't know what city that would have been. Somewhere in the empire. So yeah, Bank of America's predicting stuff. That's great. It makes for good news. It makes the metals enthusiasts get a little worked up. But does it matter? Does it pertain to us, to me, to you? Not at all. I really don't care. I'll put the story up. I'll show it to you. We'll talk about it. But that's I think where I differ from a lot of the some of the other metal enthusiast channels, like like the Wall Street Silver Crowd. Right? They're great. They have a good point. They're trying. They're waking people up to metals and stuff. But this whole idea of a moonshot or having exorbitant wealth to be able to transfer it into whatever doesn't really work, because I don't think it's going to line up like that. I don't think there's going to come a point in which you're going to have some extreme wealth with your metal that you're going to transfer into, let's say, buying a Bentley, because I don't think they'll be manufactured at that time, or into some nice little oceanside estate in Palm Springs or Malibu or wherever. No, you're going to be hiding. Years and years ago, over a decade ago, I was laying there late at night under a lamplight reading an article by Professor Anatol Fiat. And I remember one of the takeaway points, and it stuck with me, and it has stuck with me forever, and I've repeated it here on this channel, is, yeah, one day you're going to see $10,000 gold. But a world in which gold is 10,000 US dollars is an ugly world. It's not like today. Things will be different, more difficult, more challenging for us. And I think that's how it goes with metals. Yeah, we might see silver worth $800 an ounce with a market that's broken, and that's the last chart you ever see. And no longer is it reported. And that's when you'll start seeing smoke on the horizon or distant screams, broken down chariots, a collapsing empire, an end of an empire. The metal will still buy you what you need, things like food, protection, passage, weapons, the things that feed them. Might even buy a plot of land in a far remote corner of some place you're trying to get to. Who knows? But it's not a very safe world. It's not a very pretty world anymore. It's different. It's exciting. Things are going to be historic, right? Eventually, we're going to move towards not only hockey stick charts with inflation, like we see here, hockey stick charts with debt. Thank you, Jeff E. I don't want to see $10,000 gold, but I'm preparing for that world. You will see it. That's the great thing, Jeff. It doesn't matter what you and I want. I mean, I want a 76 or a 78 factory highboy Ford. Doesn't really matter. It's not reality right now. What we want is not likely to come to be. What is the end of an empire. A historic shift, a sea change, a paradigm shift. I think it'll be better overall for the world, for history, to see this Leviathan state crumble. But the charts that we talk about, these exponential increases in debt and interest and inflation and hyperinflation, they also show us the direction metals are going to go, which are also going to be hockey stick charts. But if I flip them over, that's going to be like the quality of life for most people, or just the standard of living for most people is an inverse hockey stick chart. It's going to be plummeting. If you flip these over, it's going to be like falling off a cliff into an abyss. It's going to be like the song Tom Joad, like the character Tom Joad, Grapes of Wrath. Highway patrol chopper coming up over the ridge. A man sleep by a campfire under a bridge, right? Preacher man lights up a butt, takes a drag, waiting for a time where the last shall be first and the first shall be last. Sleeping in a cardboard box underpass, right? I forget all the lines. That's a great song. I forget all the lyrics. A great piece. What a great song. Yeah, that's the direction you're heading. It's like more of a Ghost of Tom Joad type of life. That's the direction. That's what it looks like. So, the best you can do is prepare for it. You know, the ability to produce food, to grow food, to store food, to know all those processes and steps in between. How to defend it, how to hunt, fish, how to field dress an animal. But again, you want to be 2 fuel tanks away from places like Oakland. Remember that. Distance. Distance is your friend. Many of you might live in that vicinity or in areas close to places like that. When the benefits stop coming, the unemployment, the welfare, the entitlement system breaks down, when it's unable to service it, or the currency that they're sending those people is inflating so much so that it no longer purchases anything, you have to not be near it. Because they're breaking into places and robbing them blind now. They're having mobile rolling gunfights on the streets now. Chaos is breaking out now. So imagine what it will be like when the thin blue line evaporates. Or they're that much more desperate. It can only get uglier. It can only get worse. It doesn't improve. That's it. I mean, that's just the way it is. That's reality. I'm giving you a full-blown dose of reality. If you don't like the pill, don't swallow it. Go about your business. Stay in the matrix. Eat your steak. Don't take the pill. Just chill. All right? Just go tune into something else. Go watch a Miley Cyrus's video. All right? I can't help you. That's it for today. My work here is done today. Hopefully you're motivated. Hopefully you're stacking. Hopefully you're stuffing metal into an amphora. Keep stacking. Stack like a dying Roman. Sharpen your gladius. Load your weapons. And if you're still living within 2 fuel tanks of a place like Oakland, get out. Figure it out. That's your priority. Your priority should be getting away from those places. Get rural. Get to places like, I don't know, Missouri. Get into the sticks. Get some land. Plant some stuff. Figure it out. Simplify your life. Prioritize it. Figure it out. All right? Doesn't get better from here. Doesn't improve. That's all I can do. That's all I can do to encourage you. All right. Thanks for tuning in, my friends, to another episode of the Junior Smallby channel, the most boring channel on YouTube. This has been another rambling, another extemporaneous rambling. I'm not that mad today, though. I'm kind of chilled out. I went for a hike. I actually was out in the woods earlier. I was identifying some wildflowers. I took the dog for a walk and looking at some nice native range, some bunch grasses, some trees, listening to the wind whip through the pines. It was good. A gun on my hip. Just chilling out. Just enjoying it. All right. See you all on the other side. Go kick some rocks and touch grass. Take care, my friends. Have a good rest of your day. And thanks again for being part of the Junior Smallby channel.